Meeting to order. It's 6:02 p.m. Thursday, November 5th, 2020. And we're going to forego our formalities and just do roll call and then jump to the two items that we have today.
Mayor Gerardo Naya.
Present.
Vice Mayor Marta Garcia. Present. Councilmember Miguel Villalpando. Councilmember Carlos Gonzalez. Councilmember Luis Galindo.
Present.
Councilmember Jesus Roldan.
Present.
Councilmember Juan Castillo.
Present.
Mayor Hartshorn.
Thank you. Mr. Cabrera. Yes. Discussion regarding capital improvement projects and priorities for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Mayor and Council, from the last conversation, or actually retreat that we had in February, and then during the budget process, we had some projects that were still pending. And during the pandemic, and obviously not knowing what our financial situation was going to be, some of these projects were held until we further discovered how our financial situation was during that period of time. And from our last council meeting, we know that there is funding available. The great thing regarding with our revenue. So the first three sections that you see on the spreadsheet, obviously there are the capital improvement projects that were for public works. I don't know if you had any questions for those, and those were not cut at all, but you have that process. We're trying to blow them up so you can get a little bit bigger. Do you have any questions regarding those capital improvement projects for public works?
Anybody has a question?
Those are ongoing. Those were never cut from the budget. But if you go further down, Andrea, can you go further down to, I think we have Parks and Rec and Mayor and Council for the last one. There we go. One thing that was held, and I know that it was approved, the basketball court at $90,000, and that was actually awarded last council meeting, and that's ongoing. Retention basins, IFB, hopefully today we'll approve those, so that's an ongoing. One thing that was discussed during our retreat, as you can see, is from Mayor and Council projects, was to look at the community center HVAC, Main Street redevelopment phase, and we're going to be doing phases. What are we going to do with that project? It was discussed as a grant writer position. Low cost equipment for seniors, and I think that was brought by Vice Mayor. Then soccer league, I think there was a discussion that we had. There's not necessarily any budget costs there, other than what are we doing with making sure that all those are structurally organized more than anything else. Obviously, another one that was mentioned by Mayor was skate park equipment maintenance for our new. I think that was from his council member Villalpando regarding equipment, to look at the equipment versus maintenance of that equipment, especially if they're quite old. And then another item that was discussed was the grocery store. And that's an ongoing. On the November 17th council meeting, we will have a grocery store discussion from retail coach to make some presentations and updates. And any of those items, we want to see what will give us some direction. Yes.
What's the revenue look like?
We can sustain the HVAC and probably not the grant writer position. I would wait until the following year. The equipment, we probably can sustain it as well. Because there's funding, but it's a one-time funding only. So it's not a continuing type of funding that we'll have from now on. The other one is a skate park. We're in negotiation with possible. T-Mobile wants to put some. They want an easement, so we can have that discussion with them to see if they can take a portion or not all of the skate park. Equipment, that's a phase-in kind of equipment for more of this for parks and recreation. Looking at the future If we're looking at in a high school and obviously an open space area, we definitely need equipment. We're behind equipment. Right now, there is a lawnmower that broke down. We're looking at a $12,000 equipment. And obviously, the $250,000 is not for now. It's one of those items that could be phased in. And this could be a lease purchase, or it can be stretched out even further than just 1 year or 2 years. And obviously, the grocery store is an ongoing. Yes. so that's why, especially the equipment maintenance, or the new equipment, depending on level of service that we want for our community and obviously for our employees, there is some equipment that's pretty old. Actually, even some vehicles are extremely old. I think I was 18 and they were still driving that vehicle. The 1986 truck, I think it is.
That's new?
It is new. 0 mileage. One thing that is really crucial is our Main Street development, and see if some direction can be given as far as
what's that number?
It's $8 million. That's the entire project itself. So even with that, we could look at some CDBG funding in the future, maybe two years from now, at least a portion of it. But obviously there is some other funding that we can try to source out from somewhere. I just need direction before I start looking at those funds.
But what I don't see here is, and I don't know if it's on top of the lift station for the on the west side.
It is. It's on the projects up on the sewer spreadsheet.
That's ongoing. It's approved. What's the status of it?
Yes, that was ongoing, and actually we did have a development meeting today.
Like I mentioned in the retreat, one of my priorities, at least for this year, was that we have something for the teenagers, because they're not playing recreational sports and they're not. So we can have something, like the skate park to me was something. And another thing, we've talked about the gym HVAC system for years, and we've always pushed it. But being that we have funding this year, I feel it's one-time funding that we should go ahead and do that, because we don't do it this year, we're never going to do it. And I agree with the downtown redevelopment. We invested in design, maybe $300,000 or something like that, and we've pushed it. But it's important to start doing something, so if we can face it, then that's something that I would support, because we won't be able to, unless we bond for $8 million, but I don't think there's a bonding. But if we have a plan and face it in, then we can start working, similar to how we built the Centennial Park, that we didn't borrow for it. Every year we were able to put some money aside, and eventually we built a $300,000 park. So if we can work that on realistically, we can start working towards the downtown. Then I would support it. Cause we've talked about, at least for downtown, at one time having the Welcome to Somerton arch. It's something that just aesthetically it's good, and you would just people mention it too. So it's one of those things that maybe infrastructure-wise doesn't seem, but it does add to the cities. So we can start identifying several of those enhancements that were proposed as part of the redevelopment plan. There was some art, there was some kiosks for sales, and there was different stuff that we could start facing in, and maybe eventually start. We were looking at Sam and myself were looking at phasing it in, and we were looking at probably 2 years to phase in the arch and all the development from Somerton Avenue to State. Probably cost about 1.2.
It's 1.2 to 1.4 because of the arch.
So would it be starting like this fiscal year and then?
No, I think we just need to phase in and make sure that we budget it in for next budget process. So we can start possibly in July.
But at least for me, it would be the skate park and the HVAC system, the community center. That's important, and you know the equipment for the seniors. Would that be like at the senior center, or would it be at the?
Yeah, remember at the retreat I had mentioned, and it doesn't even have to be, you know, new equipment, new purchases, but speaking with our gyms, you know, gyms in Yuma, if they're willing to sell their, you know, not that worn down equipment that the seniors, because they do have a little exercise room back there, but they have, you know, one treadmill or two and, you know, one bike, you know, at least that you can have a couple more for them so they can keep, you know, their activities. That was just a thought. For them to keep that.
That equipment is about 14 years old. It was purchased when it was purchased over here when the senior center was here, and equipment was, and that was bought through Cocoa Puffs.
And that's something that I was thinking, like, the Cocoa Puffs have given anywhere from $12,000 to $25,000, and the last couple of years it's been lost in the general fund.
But if we could earmark stuff,
The last time we highlighted where those monies were used was for the
equipment at the
Coney Park, but lately it's just been donated to the check.
we request that it's used for some like Parks and Rec or brought up.
Something like this would be something that those funds would be well used, because
it shows that, you know, it's being done for the community, because that's the intent of those funds, but it's been put into the general fund. So hopefully we get a donation, or at least we move them to something Parks and Rec and be brought up. But yeah, that's.
And I think the things like that, Mayor, that something that's gonna be listed especially for the seniors, maybe the Cocoa Puffs or and just thanking in front of the seniors, and, you know, something like that, so they know that the money is being, I mean, not just receive the check, but let them know that this is what we're buying with. Which is the assurance that we're using the money. That way, you know, the next year they think, maybe, you know, we'll get a little more, you know, so we can continue. Something they can see, I know, the concession center, doing what, go with that, also the scoreboard was still with that, the slide is there, the pool was also purchased. I mean, at that time, the seniors, everybody got tennis shoes. And, you know, so when we invited the Cocoa Puffs, they were like, especially Sherry and Tupac, the seniors, it was something nice for them, you know, to see, I guess. So I think for us to do something like that, so every year they can think about it and, you know, it's a little more responsible.
So what we do have is looking at the community center HVAC and the skate park. Those two are very realistic for this year.
Yep.
Okay. So I mean, I think I agree with what Mayor said. I mean, if we have the funds there, I mean, I think the AC is a long time coming. I think that was, you know, it's been planned out, and I mean, if we have the opportunity right now, I'd say we move forward with that. And the skate park.
And it's gonna be just equipment at the skate park, right?
Well, no, a new skate
new
park
one.
at Joe Munoz or on the south side.
Okay.
You know, we met with some of the skater community and like identifying something on the south side, but you know, just in conversations with them, they said that Joe Munoz will probably be accessible for kids that live here and live over there, that being skateboard and riding their skateboard there wouldn't be. But yeah, if we do something like that, let's make sure that we have security, lighting, and everything.
Yes, I think we were looking at the whole area, Rodney and myself, and looking to see if those same lights that are currently have at Joe Munoz, why put some extra ones, but facing west towards the skate park. very feasible. We can do that. As a matter of fact,
I spoke to
the skaters this afternoon about an hour ago. They were outside and asking about the skate park.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. I got their name, so they're really interested. We'll let them know once we get to a design phase. So they can be part of the whole.
Yeah, we need to get them involved because initially the concept was ramps, but talking to them, that's not West Coast skating.
Well, they want a pool.
It was more like linear, and they were explaining. So if we can get those stakeholders here involved and put them as part of that project, I think it would.
And you know what also, Jerry, the APAs they put a pool for free, all you have to pay is a monthly fee. So it's not even costing anything to the city, we're just adding that to the bill of the pay. That's what they did to the volleyball court. So they can just run the cable for that and all they have to do. And we have a good connection there.
The way the skate park we're thinking of when I was talking to the kids was not only just for skate, but bicycles, but BMX, jumping, and so it serves both purposes of just not just skate, but bicycle as well.
How many from the CIP have we done from 1 to 13, 14, from the first? How many have we accomplished?
From the Public Works?
Yeah.
Which one was the first one? Which department is? Street? First?
We got the one, it says Chavez Main Jefferson.
That's ongoing.
Fulton Avenue and Council Street, reconstruction.
The ongoing,
Where?
ongoing.
But ongoing, what does it mean that?
That means that it's
So we're breaking ground, or we're making
Exactly.
progress?
well depends on Cesar Chavez construction. So on Cesar Chavez is basically ongoing. We have a contractor on board. Basically, as today they basically demolish all the asphalt, and it's moving dirt. So that is
I broke ground.
Did you get the traffic signal squared away, the one that Mr. Galindo didn't want?
I did. But I guess so.
But then he liked it.
And then
When the meeting was over, he liked it.
Galindo Avenue.
That went through.
correct. Yes.
Unless you change it to Galindo Avenue, I'll love it. The one that I talked to you about because it's number 5, Main Street Pathway, the solar power, and you told me about it. But I've been going on my bike over there, and it's from 30 lights, there's only 5 maybe working. And I guess it's been an ongoing. Every 2 years we buy more batteries, and in 2 years we spend $60,000. So I was talking to Sam, or I don't know how much you spend.
No, we don't. We just replaced. One time we replaced the batteries about 4 or 5 years ago.
And how much?
It was for free because we get the warranty at that time.
It
But
has
we
to be working every day. You know, it's if you go down west side, it's only 5 lights from 30 something, and it's kind of darkening. You know, it's a nice pathway, but.
Mhm.
But it's something that I would like to see. How do you explain why?
The reason is it is on my CIP and it's already approved by this year. The reason why I do not start this project, soon, is because the Valle Vista water project is coming in. Actually, we have a meeting today with ADEQ. Maybe in the next month, if I am correct. So my idea is to let the water project start and construct it. Otherwise, it's gonna be the new line, the new power source is gonna be just right there. Because we have the sewer force main, and now we're gonna have the water main. So I will prefer to install the water and then move forward with the conduit for energize all those highway lights.
So this realistically probably going to be till next fiscal year?
No, because according to ADEQ, we may start construction the next month for the Valle Vista water project, and maybe 3-4 months.
Which will be May.
That's right there, March, April. Mm-hmm. Now, another thing is we are waiting on the Cesar Chavez project because we're going to install a cabinet for the power source. And my plan is to connect on that power source. Otherwise, we need to invest because we don't have anything there.
And is that power source towards the end of the construction or?
No, it's going to be towards the end of the Cesar Chavez project, yes.
So,
That's going for the traffic signal.
so it's next fiscal year?
No, this one. This fiscal year. Yes.
This project.
How long is
The Cesar Chavez project is going to end it by March. So by that time, we have the power source. And by that time, hopefully, we can have almost done the Valle Vista project. March, April. So by that time, I have the power source and I have the underground already done. So I can begin with the conduit installation for those pedestrian LED lights.
Are you gonna use the same poles or?
Yes, correct. The only thing is basically remove the batteries and place a conduit. But yes, we're gonna use the same lights.
I mean, they will not be battery operated anymore.
Not anymore. Not solar.
Number 15, the pathway extension and improvement of Cesar Chavez landscaping. Which one is that? On the
Cesar Chavez is this one. It's from Maine going to 2015. But that is not in this year, right?
That's a 2022.
Yes.
2022. Because, you know, is that how are we doing that Cesar Chavez? Are we doing it 2 lanes or 4 lanes?
3 lanes.
3 lanes?
The pathway is there. Remember that with that ground, it was not enough money to place landscaping from the Perry County Park going north to County 15. So we have the main line for the water, for the irrigation. We have the rock and basically the asphalt pathway and the lights. So we don't have enough money to complete the landscaping. But the water main is there. So that is my project, as you mentioned, council member. It's to place the landscaping for the 2021, for 2022, I'm sorry.
Any other questions, comments?
Now, if may, high school is coming. I'm gonna request a high school to place the landscaping portion of their frontage of the pathway. Similar for if any other developer, for example, Max subdivision, I think is coming. It's a small subdivision of the corner of County 15, but I will request the landscaping as well.
We do that with all developers, right?
Correct.
We go further, Andrea, on to the left. Slide. Yes, that one. One other item that staff projects that came up during the retreat as well is the financial system, ERP financial system. Right now we have Cassell. The last time it was updated was a couple of years ago. Right now, what the system does, we have basically 3 systems. One is for the finance system, one is for payroll, and one for utilities and business licenses. With the new system, we're looking at to phase it in if council approves it, to phase in some of the items. Obviously, the finance system makes sure that everything's running smooth, and then pull in payroll in there. And then finally, the last thing will be probably utilities. The reason why we're doing it in phases is because obviously we want to make sure everything's running smooth, but the other thing is that Cassell is not running smoothly at least as Sarina would want it. There's been issues where the POs don't come up in the system. The workflows there's mistakes in the workflows as far as approval process. There's been issues with Cassell in itself. The other thing is that the payroll system, which is ADP, and the financial system, they communicate, but they're 2 separate, total different programs. You just have to open the gate in order for payroll to be dropped into financial system. But it doesn't happen like it should. It still hits the financial system, but you don't see what other contingency dollars are in the system itself, because we at times do not fill positions. There is other people who are terminated or resigned during the year. So those type of situations don't impact the finance system until towards the middle or towards the end, depending on what situation. If all the budget occurs at one time, then at least you have control and you see the total entire budget from one global picture with all the details instead of portion of the picture in itself. But it's something to think about. I think that Sarina did have the discussion, and I think it was at the retreat as well. We're looking at about $100,000, $126,000 for a portion of it. I know there's a wish list, and I said no, not a wish list. At least get to a point that we are comfortable with the system before we actually even open up more. But it is possible that we can start doing that this year, phase in payroll and other instances. That's something to consider as well. The compensation analysis, we were going to do it ourselves, and then figuring out that after a discussion on Thursday, we don't have a salary schedule. The salary schedule that we have was from 2007. Pretty much what we've been using is City of Yuma. Whatever they have is what we use. Kind of we plagiarize some of their items in order to fit our needs. So when we're looking at the funding source, Focus Consulting was terminated in September. So it was already budgeted in there, a set amount. So we're looking at using that set amount for the compensation analysis. So we're looking at probably about $18,000, and there is budgeted there's still $23,000 in that budget. The video system for council chambers, I did put $25,000, but it's something that we're going to have to need no matter what, even today, even next year, even after COVID is over. It's going to continue. It's going to continue for our residents and anybody who wants to log in, obviously. Procurement committee, that started already. We're looking at revamping the procurement itself. Mr. Councilmember Villapondo is on the procurement, and we're already making some changes to it. So hopefully that'll happen here towards the end of the fiscal year. Another item that we need to look carefully for the future, and I didn't put any funds on there because it's hard to state because I don't have a complete picture of a vehicle replacement program. It's something that we're going to definitely need. Like as mentioned earlier, we have a 1986 truck, that orange one. I remember as a kid, I saw that truck. So it's something to look at, and I'll put something together for our budget process, and we can phase in some of the items, is not all of them, but these are the items that we definitely need to look at and either freeze them in or not worry about it until it breaks down or whatever council's direction wants. But at least we put something in place, a program in place for your consideration at that point.
The ERP, it's $100,000, but what would be the maintenance fee after the initial investment?
It is $26,000 a year. Yes.
How much is Casell?
I believe it was $20,000, but then you have ADP, so it ends up a little bit less than $40,000 for all programs. So you end up it washes a little bit more expensive with one system, but at the end, all systems are merged, they're all one system, and it works out. And in doing so, what I discovered was actually I was looking at our network infrastructure, and definitely we need to do something there because I'm really concerned with the network, really concerned. And looking at the network itself with wiring, fiber, security, big concern. We need to make sure that gets done this year. And we're looking closer to $100,000 because when the building was done, not everything was wired correctly. No fiber was installed. It was kind of piecemeal. Not all there's switches on top, underneath the desk. There's switches underneath the cubicles.
And we spend more money in IT than the building.
Yes. I'm really concerned over, especially that one. More than anything else. You know, skateboard.
Sorry, but I am.
Sorry for the kids, but yes. But it's something for your consideration as well.
For all of it, huh?
We can
Phase some of those items in. Obviously, we're looking at 2 fiscal years. So we look at 2 fiscal years, we can afford both of them. There's, like I said, we only have one-time money, and even in the one-time monies, we'll be able to have some more contingency funds. And Serena and I have been discussing our contingency dollars and other items as well. Remember that some of the funds are where positions have been hired or people have left, attrition, so those type of things, there is funding in some of the line items.
The video system, definitely, we found out here how bad it is, and I think eventually it's you know, our society is changing it. A lot of people prefer staying at home and watching. So yeah, we do need a video system. It's important. It's part of all this COVID situation that is brought up. The ERP system, you know, Serena has been asking for it. I understand the initial investment will be, but eventually it's going to improve, and year to year it's going to be, you know, around the same or less, and I'll support it too. The questions come.
It was more important than others and was priority, you know, security wise and all. I think it is.
I feel like I said, a lot of it is one time. We have the funds, so we have the funding available. So I'm sure we can. I feel comfortable with one time and not, you know, the year to year. So.
Right.
Discussion regarding all new positions approved through fiscal year 2020-21 budgetary process.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Jorge Lozano, City Attorney, and also the Chief Personnel Officer. This item is included in here to kind of discuss some of the positions that Mayor and Council approved over the summer as part of the budgetary process. So if you recall, on June 16th, the Mayor and Council, we held a work session also to discuss the preliminary budget. And at that time, our Finance Director, Ms. Gallegos, introduced several new positions that or new hires that were requested for the fiscal year. There was some discussion on whether there was need for these positions. And then during the final budget presentation was on July 7th, the mayor indicated that the positions were being approved for the budget, but that HR and the department still needed to come before council to approve these positions. So essentially, the positions have been approved already through the budget. So later on at the council meeting, depending on how this discussion goes, you'll be asked to, you know, give us the green light to, you know, to go ahead and hire some of these positions, wait on these positions, or simply, you know, kick the bucket again for another time on the positions. At the last council meeting, our finance director presented a quarterly report regarding our state of financial affairs. In that report, I think most of the council and staff saw that you know, Corona has had an impact in our community, but mainly our revenues are where they should be, or at least where they were last year. and it's looking better than what we initially thought. So just to recap, the positions that were new and were approved by you was a full-time court officer. This is for the municipal court. And for Judge Figueroa, this is a mandate by the Arizona Supreme Court. And when I spoke to Judge Figueroa last week, he indicates that, yes, we need to have a court officer starting next month. So that is a position really that needs to be brought on board to assist the court. There's two positions at the police department that were also approved. One was for a property/evidence technician, and the other one was for a records supervisor or a records manager. Now, if you recall, the funding for those positions became available when we freed up some monies when one of the captain positions was eliminated. And so that's why we were able to reallocate some of those funds to those positions. Maybe we didn't go into detail as to where those positions came from, but in 2019 there was an audit at the police department. This happened back in the calendar years. He wasn't around for the final presentation, but Mr. Torito did receive it. And in some of those recommendations, pull that up. There were several recommendations that were made and one of those recommendations was in the administration section. They indicated that command staff, along with city management, should determine and create job titles and descriptions that are clearly needed within the police department and move people who are performing the work into the proper job duties. So we don't have a records manager. We have a dispatcher who is currently filling the role of a records manager. So in the audit, they're alluding to having that person move into the proper job description. And also this says that this includes creating a records manager position and an administrative assistant / property custodian positions. So the recommendation by the audit after assessing the administrative functions of our police department is indicating that the recommendation is that we have a records manager.
The manager or supervisor?
Oh, supervisor here.
I think that those details can be worked out. I think the essential thing is that we need someone in records that's properly titled records. And going forward, depending on what our budget can sustain, we can either call that person a records management or a records supervisor. There's also a contract part-timer that assists in the records. But still, I think if you had an opportunity to read that audit, they still think that's way too little with the way the caseload is going. It's just not sustainable. We need to add staff in that department, in that area. And also with the property and evidence technician, we haven't had a full-time or a proper person that does property and evidence technician. The last person that was assigned to that role retired in May of 2019 as a police officer. Right now, that function is being handled by the chief's admin assistant. I don't know, part-time, quarter-time, I guess whatever time she has out of her normal administrative functions is what she's dedicating to the evidence room. And I think it's proper given that this disposition of property, safeguarding of property, we have drugs, firearms, money, things that are important to be safeguarded, biohazards, blood analysis, breath analysis, all of that evidence that needs to be stored for trial. And some of the biggest hits on the audit were also that, we don't have proper, policies and procedures, and we need to start working on that. And so that person serves at those roles and responsibilities revamp our evidence room and to get those proper procedures in place and forms and whatnot. So all in all, those two positions are strongly supported by the audit that was done at the police department. The next position that we spoke about is moving the graphic designer from a part-time to a full-time position. I think this falls in line with sort of maybe the long and the strategic goal of administration to move that role also into some sort of what called the public officer and assist more in moving forward and mayor and council's agenda and promoting more of the projects and things that the council does. Right now, on average, our graphic designer is working a part-time job, but there are many weeks throughout the week that she works beyond that. Unfortunately, I think we see her everywhere. She's taking pictures. She's updating our website. She's helping with the graphic design work. She helped with the home rule and putting that publicity packet together. She was key. She was key in passing that new extension for 4 more years and more and more as we move more into a digital age, she's being used more and I think our demand justifies that we have a full-time position in that area. And lastly, the finance department requested a part-time administrative specialist. As of today, there is still an opening in the finance department for an AP clerk. But by and large, the finance department still is our gateway into the city hall. They are the first people to be greeting the customers usually. And a lot of their staff is dedicated to customer service, giving directions, taking payments, and just simply being support staff for the rest of City Hall. So we can easily see how an administrative assistant can be useful here at the front counter and also to help support the finance department in their day-to-day activities and reports that they have to do. So if we can move down to the next sheet here. So different than what Mr. Cabrera pointed out, that these are not one-time expenses. So these are going to be reoccurring expenses from now until you decide to not hire these positions or eliminate these positions. So that's important for you to keep in mind.
On the graphic design, she only helped with the pamphlet that went out to the public, correct?
Yeah, she designed
the pamphlet itself.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Not everything, not anything else.
No, not anything else. But I mean, if we're promoting something, we want it to look nice, right? I mean, I could put together a 10-page, little notebook, but I think it impresses the voters when something that is readable and nice on your eyes. So the yearly cost there that's for all 5 positions if you bring them in right now.
On the court officer, is that
a general fund, or can the court sustain it?
That I would have to speak to Judge Figueroa about what special revenues he has in that area. Usually court enhancement fees, when I was a judge, court enhancement fees are designed for more of technology and infrastructure to run the court. But we'd have to talk to him about if there's any percentage that he can contribute to that position. So let me go down one slide. Can you go down one, Isaiah? So for the court officer there, we've kind of established an hourly rate. Our payroll clerk got our health insurance, life insurance, and all the other contributions. And then that's why there's a price tag of about $47,000 a year. This is assuming a person comes in choosing health benefits for individual coverage. One more, please, now. This is the price tag for the property and evidence technician. Again, coming in at a salary of about $36,000 annually with benefits, kind of goes up to about $50,000. One more, please. Our records manager supervisor coming in at about $39,000. Full impact to the city with benefits about $53,000. Graphic designer, we're currently already spending about $28,000 annually for the part-time position. So we're only, if we add benefits and the other half of the part-time, we were looking at an additional budget of $23,800, which is the last line on that budget sheet. And lastly, for a part-time admin position with no benefits, we're looking at about $14,000 a year. And can we go back to the aggregate yearly cost, which is page 8? Okay, so once we add all those together, we're looking at about $189,000 recurring expenses in our budget to bring these positions in. We have, if for example, one or two of these individuals choose like a family coverage type option, we could pretty much run it off to about $200,000. I think that's what overall our impact is yearly by bringing these four and a half positions into our team.
So if 4, are included in the family plan, we're looking at like 200,000.
I think it's about a 5,000 for the family plan, city contribution. So I think we're looking at about 210.
Graphic designer.
So, this is just an item for discussion. It's an item that's on the agenda for tonight. Just wanted to, remind everybody that it was approved already, and I think we do have the ability to sustain all the positions or the positions that you so desire. And if we do move forward, the plan is to get these in by January 1st. So there's still a couple of months there. So remember, these positions have already been approved since the start of the budget process. So we haven't hired.
We
approved the budget, not the position.
We're going to approve it, leave it as a placeholder, but then discuss the position. So we're very clear with that. So.
Okay. Great. Okay, so going back to what I was saying, then we have not, even though it looks like it's a $200 price tag at this time, starting mid-year, it's half of that. So we're looking at about $100,000 between January until the new fiscal year, and then obviously on July 1st moving forward, it'll be the full $200,000 going forward yearly.
Where would that put us for next fiscal year?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think I have an answer for that. I don't have an answer for that. That's just depending on how our revenues would be coming in. That's depending on how our sales tax and all the other state contributions are doing.
Was that, I understand both police positions, there was the
captain, so it's like the impact of the budget is not
as much.
The court officer were forced
to do it. That's something that if it's state law,
and if we verify if it is,
and something that
graphic designer, that is going to be an
impact, and the administrative assistant also
an impact. But I understand the graphic designer,
like you said, needed. The administrative assistant, didn't we
hire an administrative assistant last fiscal
year? So we're hiring another one, or
no?
So there is the ability to hire seasonal or temporary employees. not to exceed 90 days in the event the manager sees that there's some sort of emergency or some sort of need for that. And I believe that's what happened in that case, that we hired a administrative assistant for 90 days, but that 90 days has expired. So they go back.
So, but it's only temporary, so whenever that ends, it's gonna end. But administrative position, if we approve it, I wanna make the decision when that person actually comes in, not necessarily if it's gonna happen tomorrow or next week or next month. No. There's an AP position that still needs to be filled, and I know that finance wants one more position. If it gets approved, I'll wait until I can make that decision.
My only comment is that part-time, like Mr. Cabrera mentioned, they still don't have full staff where they can, I guess, assess if that part-timer is actually needed, because he hasn't worked with a full staff yet. So that would be my only, I guess, hold off on it. As, maybe have her hire. I saw in Watch Friday's report that they had made an offer to this new position, but I don't know if that.
Do not accept the position. Yeah, do not accept the position.
That would be my only hold off on that position, because again, she hasn't worked with a full staff and she hasn't been able to assess she will actually need this part-time girl. I know that right now she needs it because she's short-staffed. That's why with contract person, but I think if we can hold off on that one for now, like the mayor says, the graphic designer, it's been a long time coming. She does a lot of work for the city. The two police positions. I also agree that the chief had brought us the information about the captain position that kind of like
wash it off.
Besides the audit as well, we had issues, which is why the audit was performed. And what else? It's mandated. But I think we could, if this might hold on to this part-time.
One of those positions, Lawyer Lozano mentioned that record supervisor, she's working right now as a dispatcher or something like that. Who's the one?
No. So she's since her hire date, she's a dispatcher, and I don't know the history, but I believe at some point she was brought in to do records management. I don't know, maybe was it when the other person retired, or Mr. Aguirre, who retired, and so they pulled her in to do that, and so that's what the audit is finding. If she's gonna be doing that, then we gotta designate the proper. And by the way, we do need one.
You'll be moving her to the full-time supervisor of records, and then do we need another for dispatcher? Are we gonna need somebody to take her place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would free up her if that move occurs, that would free up a dispatcher position that we sorely need anyways. I mean, that's what we need, and for our emergency management, and we're always having trouble getting a full staff in that area.
One thing on the records manager, look at the duties and see what the best title for it.
I think there is a misunderstanding of what when it states management, it doesn't necessarily manage other people or supervise other people. It's a supervision of the records themselves. It's basically like an accounts manager. They're only managing those accounts, but not necessarily other people. So it's kind of semantics. If it's just records management, it's just the management of the record, not managing of individuals.
Any other questions, comments?
I know we we talk about human resources supervisor or manager? For next fiscal year?
We're looking at something for next fiscal year. But yes, either it's a human resource manager and or / director. That's another item that we definitely do need for our staff. Armando needs the help. Definitely needs the help. I know that Jorge helps as much as he can as well, but kind of a part-time kind of situation, but he does help. But the day-to-day operations in itself, Armando is the one, and sometimes you'll get calls left and right, and for him to try to deal with those, and then emails and benefits and ASRS, you know, even with payroll in itself, they're intermingled in some way, shape, or form, but he is struggling, I know that.
Councilman Armando has a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. One quick comment, or maybe actually it's a question. What are we going to do with a part-time marketing position? Is that going to go away? Because obviously, from what I hear, it's going to be combined with graphics design. So are we considering eliminating and bringing in a full-time graphic designer?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, because so we got to go through the process of not only approving this graphic design position, but also being very specific that we are going to combine those two positions and create a graphic design position.
Yeah, they basically are combined in creating a new title to the position more than anything else.
Okay. Okay, so that one's going to go away. Now, my other question is records keeping. We already have a gentleman that I believe is already working there part-time. Is that position going to go away? Because now we're realistically, we're bringing in a full-time. Now you're asking for one and a half. So
Councilmember Villalpando, that the person that assists the police department on records management is a contractual worker. They don't work for the city. That the audit found that even with one person doing records at the police department, that's not a recommendation. They're actually recommending a full-time and another staff member. But you know, our budget has been able to sustain a contractor for the past 5 or 6 years. And our budget has sustained a full-time captain for the past 5 or 6 years. By eliminating the captain's positions, we bring in these 2 new full-time positions. So very minimal impact to our overall general fund in that area, because we eliminated a police captain.
No, I'm fully aware that they're eliminating that particular position, but my concern is that we already have somebody there part-time, and now you're telling me that it's on a contract basis. I thought contract employees can only work X amount of days, and I believe that individual has been working there for years under contract.
Can you address that? Okay. So yes, the contract labor that we currently have at the police department to assist with records is someone that had extensive knowledge and experience. Police were able to then pull a dispatcher to handle those, to work full time for the city on that. But I believe that even by bringing in a full-time records management, the audit supports 2 full-time positions dealing with records. Right now, we're only going to get 1 full-time position and contractual labor for the other half of the time.
No, I understand, but I guess you guys are. I'm not explaining myself correctly. I thought we could not have anybody under contract for more than 90 days.
No. That is for a temporary employees. A temporary employee is someone that comes in and we put into our payroll system. We collect their taxes. We send their taxes in, employer contributions, etc. Contractual people are people that have no relationship with the city, and the city has no obligations to them. They are a 1099 at the end of the year. We send them their W4 form, and they file their taxes, and they're responsible for everything. So yeah, there's no relationship with the city. They're at will. We can eliminate. We can do. They're just here on a contractual basis.
So are they? Because I know the report they recommended a full-time position. Is there enough workload to justify 1.5 times? The reason
yes, per the audit, there's enough work to go in there for 2 full-time positions, according to the audit that was received.
Okay, so if that's what is needed, why aren't we looking into filling those positions, 2 positions, versus having contract labor?
I think at this stage, in the middle of the year, Councilman Villalpando, what we need to do is identify that as a potential new hire and try and get it in at the new fiscal year.
Well, I mean, we've already known this report came out over a year ago, and nobody's ever really brought it up until now. This is the first time, at least for me, the first time I've heard that it required, or they were asking for 2 versus 1.
Well, I believe the audit was made available to the prior city manager for mayor and council, but I don't believe we really ever went in detail or had a work session on just the specifics and the findings of those.
And with that, I would even say if the audit is calling for 2, I mean, I know we have 1 right now, but I would even make that a consideration for for this upcoming fiscal year. I mean, if that's what the audit is calling.
I would defer to the chief and the city manager on personnel, and for them to make that decision. If you ask me, I'd rather have a part-timer and save that money, but again, if it's needed, then I think that's, like was mentioned, that's for the future budget process. If we're putting new positions now, then those comments should be noted, and next fiscal year, well, for the next budget process, we look at that.
It is on here, Mayor and Council Member Villalpando. It's on section A 6.4. It does state should have a full-time records clerk or 2 part-time records clerks in addition to the records manager. Well, in essence, it's almost 3.
Well, a full-time and a manager, or 2 part-timers and a manager. But I think what we can sustain right now is 1 full-time records manager, and we have a contractual person. We're still behind, but I think working together and working in a future budget, we can maybe address that.
We're gonna go 4 more minutes maximum, and then we're gonna end the meeting. Chief, you had something?
Yes, I had something else. Mr. Villalpando, I know you're asking that this is the first time you've heard about the 2 positions, or at least the 2 in regards to records. The recommendation from the audit was that there'd be 2 full-time people, but I never asked for 2 full-time. The only thing that I was asking was that that position that that person is holding be created. And I was hoping that if the evidence custodian position is approved, that would open up the administrative position that that person holds, and that person could help support the records division and any other administrative duties that pertain to the evidence custodian as well. That's all I have.
And Mayor, that concludes our presentation.
So 7:07,
Work session is adjourned.
let's take a 4-minute break.